forgot the music doesn't turn itself down. I actually have to press the
You got to
button.
do some work, bro. You got to get in there.
All right, I'm here.
Roll
I'm
your
ready to
sleeves
go. It's game night. The sleeves. I'm a sleeve up guy. I'm a on these collared shirts and long sleeves.
I'm familiar. Yep. I have some of those.
Yeah,
shirts
I roll the sleeves up. I don't let them hang down. But I work in a place that's cash. You're looking pretty cash today. Got the Jordan brand hat on.
Yep. Bought it myself, you guys. No gifts here.
Flat bill. I like that. We got Daniel and Double M15 in the chat. I like that. David, is that a snapback? Can we go for the triple crown here?
No, it's a fitted, bro.
Oh, man, no. I can't do the fitted. My head is too big. My head, there's too much knowledge in here. There's too much insight. There's too many takes in this head of mine.
They have different sizes. They have different sizes. That's where you size up.
Okay, I don't like to shop for clothes because I'm not a big fan of trying things on. I don't understand clothes. I have clothes blindness, David, okay? I have fashion blindness, so I can't fit a hat. I can't put myself through that.
How did you get this far? How did you get up this morning? How did you get there?
By the grace of producer Katie. She helps me. Yeah. She asked me, she walked in the other day with a new outfit and she asked me how it looked, David. And I, that's a softball. That's an easy one for us married guys. You say, looks great. Looks fantastic. Right. But I don't know. I didn't know if it looked fantastic. Doesn't matter in that case.
Well,
it doesn't.
I'm sure it did look fantastic.
But I thought about it, David. I don't know anything about clothes. Like this shirt, I don't know if it looks good. I don't care. I have clothes it's like color blindness or face blindness. I'm blind to fashion.
Let me tell you something. That thing looks fantastic.
Thank you. All right, enough about it. We should start the show. I just saw Steve Bob. He's hanging around the studio. He might pop in here. So this is going to be a fun show. We've got Warriors talk coming up. This is Draft Wednesday, so you and I, David, are going to draft it up. Only Hornets, only Warriors allowed in this Draft.com Wednesday challenge between you and I. And I'm going to open it up to the listeners as well, so stick around for that. Much more. Let's get this thing started. Yeah, Steve Bob, come on in, man. This is an open forum here.
Get in there, Steve Robert.
We want as many people as possible. But real quick, we're gonna start this thing. If I can, maybe.
There's some fashion right there.
There we go. All right, let's do this thing.
You are Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
All right, now officially the gang's all here. It's Locked On Hornets here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. This is your daily podcast on the Charlotte Hornets and the NBA. Search your podcast app for Locked On to get podcast on the NBA, the NFL, and fantasy sports. You got to check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball so that you have all of the knowledge necessary to participate in our Draft.com Wednesday challenges. David and I are going to live draft Warriors and Hornets only. That's a self-imposed rule that we have on our challenge today. But you can get involved as well. I'm going to set up a 4-person draft for listeners of this show. So you want to get on draft.com, sign up, use our promo code LOHornets, and then follow me on draft, LOH Doug, and then you'll see that draft pop up later this morning. So join us, take our money, win our cash, get some of that Patreon money back. I got the panel here for the Mean Streets of Cotswold. You've already heard his voice. You've seen his Jordan brand hat. David Walker.
Good morning. There are no chips involved, guys. You will not have to eat a hot chip or a potato chip.
No bets. I'm done with bets. That was too intense. And to my right here, Steve Bob Forrest. How are you doing?
Oh, man, I'm doing well. And I got to say, I've just been staring at David over there. I was like, who is this young member of Eminem's crew hanging on the back, looking very cool, very young.
Very
David.
hip, very cool, guys.
Literally did not recognize you.
Well, he had to rep the Jordan brand because this is a national TV game that we've got tonight at 8:00 against.
We're not. This isn't national.
This is not. No, we're not.
This is international, right?
Right. That's internet national.
Okay.
This is internet
Technically,
national.
that's up to the viewers. All right, now everybody in the world, just get on there right now.
All right, Lamont on the chat wishing us a happy Warriors Wednesday. We're going to preview this game coming up. Plus, I've got a lot to talk about in terms of the Warriors' defense. A lot of talk about their offense, but we don't talk enough about how well these Warriors play on defense. The Warriors, of course, going to be without Steph Curry. That's some other big news as well. So that will be one player, David, that you and I will not be able to draft on draft.com.
I might draft him anyway. I might take him anyway.
It's a bold move, Cotton. T-shirts available on tpublic.com. Daniel saying Rich Cho is on Dunked On today. Rich Cho, general manager of the Charlotte Hornets, on the Dunked On pod today.
Yeah, been getting dunked on a lot this season with the way this roster's put together. But hey,
man, this is Steve Bob dropping those. Do we need to get the hot take machine out for these?
I can say that because I went to lunch with Rich once. And so,
all right. You guys are buddies. Okay. T-shirts, tpublic.com, search Locked On Hornets, and get some deals on T-shirts and mugs and other kind of merchandise. And all of that money goes to support this show. Plus, patreon.com/LOH. Great way to support local journalism, support what we do here. Plus, we're giving away tickets to Saturday's game, the Star Wars game, and a bobblehead as well, a Frank Kaminsky, excuse me, got me choked up here, Frank Kaminsky Stormtrooper bobblehead. A lot of giveaways coming up. You want to get on patreon.com/LOH and sign up because you're going to get double entries into those special giveaways. Okay, let's talk about this game coming up against the Golden State Warriors tonight, 8:00 ESPN. 19-6 are the Warriors. They will be without Steph Curry. He's been declared out after spraining his ankle very badly late in Monday's contest. X-rays were negative, but apparently it swelled up like a water balloon. They are going to reevaluate this ankle in a few weeks, so they could be without Steph for a while. David, does that give the Hornets a glimmer of hope? We didn't give them much of a chance at all of winning this game earlier this week. Does this change the equation for you somewhat?
Oh, yeah, I think it's an easy win for the Hornets now.
All right, calm down.
They'll have to rely on Kevin Durant. That guy, what has he done? Speaking of that real quick, did you guys see, I mentioned this yesterday, have you seen a still shot or any replays of Steph folding his ankle on the floor?
I did. I saw the video of it on Twitter. I mean, it went completely horizontal.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Worse than the Hayward?
No, because there was no.
It stayed on his body. Yeah, it stayed connected.
In that way, it was not as bad. But this was not a situation where Steph Curry has like glass ankles or that he had. You don't want to look at the previous ankle issues that he had because this was just a freak kind of thing. It was. Yeah,
but he basically has two 2x4s on either side of his ankles. This brace he wears now, it's unbelievable. And his new shoes, I may point out, are very like knit-like up near the ankle area. So I don't think it matters. Point being, Steve, Bob, if you and I could talk for a second, we play basketball. You know what I'm talking about here.
Sure. I follow you 100% already. So.
Yeah. I don't think it matters what you have on your ankles. If they're going to turn, if you hit them at the right angle, they're going to go. So. That's just a tip from me to Steph. If you guys want to pass along, if you see him on the streets, let him know. But, Doug, to get back to your question, I don't think it changes things that much. The Warriors are still so loaded, and they do so many things well that, sure, it affects things having Steph Curry out. Anytime you take a player of that magnitude out of the equation, it's going to change things somewhat. But they are loaded. And my favorite stat about the Warriors is they average – I wrote it down because I love it so much. They average 31 assists per game. The Hornets average just under 40 made field goals per game, which is just a tick higher than what the Warriors allow their opponents to do. So, I mean, the amount of assists this team, generates through their offense and ball movement that leads to buckets is just fascinating. Makes them fun to watch.
Can I come over the top of your statistic with an even a crazier number? So
sounds like
I'll wait for you to take a sip of your coffee. And then,
provided that it is indeed crazier.
Well, here's the thing. So the Warriors are tops in the league in assists, okay? They are 28th in turnovers. They turn the basketball over a lot. Okay,
That is insane.
Wait for it.
I don't even believe you.
I'm not done yet.
That is crazy. Well, that's our show
So
today, guys.
they have so many assists. They have so many assists that they're still tops in the league in assist to turnover ratio, despite the fact that they are 28th in the league in turnovers. That's how much the Warriors move the basketball.
Oh my God!
But the Hornets, don't pay. There's no listen. If you want to patronize me, go to Patreon.com. Don't come here and patronize me. Hornets for the second. Hornets for the second straight game will enter as the healthier team. They are coming off a win against Orlando. They'll be playing at home, where they have been playing a lot better than out on the road. They have their captain back as well. And all would be well if they were playing anybody but the Golden State Warriors, who still feature an all-NBA talent in Kevin Durant, as you mentioned, David, plus the Defensive Player of the Year in Draymond Green. I looked this up on NBA Wowie, the on-off stats. When Steph Curry is off the floor and Draymond, Clay, and Kevin all are on the floor, about 300-plus possessions, about 3 games worth of possessions, and the Warriors are still 10 points per possession better. Well, still 10 points a game better, I should say. They're about, I think it's 101 versus 1.01. So it's about 10 points better per game in those situations. So this is still going to be a very potent offense and defense as well. The Warriors playing very well. David, did you get my draft.com invite to this Warriors Hornets only challenge?
I did. I have a notification. LOH Doug just invited you to a 2-person draft.
All right,
my favorite kind.
So get in that, and we'll do this draft.com thing here in a few minutes. Let's see. Oh, the Warriors also already have 2 20-plus point comebacks this season against the Pelicans and the Sixers. So that's the other thing that makes the Warriors so dangerous, is that even if you manage to play well against them at the beginning of games, they still have the ability in the second half to make a huge comeback and punish you with Kevin Durant, with Draymond Green, with Klay Thompson. And they are, I think they're top 4 in the league in points per quarter in each quarter. Like they're no worse than
They're good.
They're no worse than 4th in each individual quarter.
I always look at this as one of those scenarios too. Like if I'm Kevin Durant or Steph or Klay for that matter, when one of those other guys is out, I'm like, hell yes. Like today I'm gonna eat. Those guys, that was the team that won more games in a regular season than any other without Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So you slide in KD for Steph, it's like, cool, now he can shoot more. He can do I look at them, sometimes they're almost better without both of them on the court because they're both
Hot take.
They're both the guy that can, they're the.
Should have told me you were coming with all these hot takes. I would have gotten the machine ready. You got to lubricate that thing. You got to oil it up.
Well, your question that you posed earlier in this Locked On Hornets program was what would look like without Steph. So I was just trying to answer that question.
I appreciate it. Hey, fantasy basketball fans, listen up. If you love fantasy basketball, then you need to try my new favorite app. It's called Draft. It's daily fantasy basketball, but better. On Draft, you play real-life snake drafts with other people, just like in your season-long league, but you get to keep these players. That's the cool thing. Nobody else can have them. Here, we're going to show you actually how this works, because David and I right now are selecting our draft.com, and you just selected DeMarcus Cousins, David. You've already broken the rules.
I did not do anything, actually. I don't know why that happened.
That it may have auto-picked for you.
Well, all bets are off now.
All right, now we're scrubbing it. We were going to do Warriors Hornets, but David has ruined it. He's ruined our draft.com challenge, so I'm going to take one Lebronathan James.
I have been saying that I think they should try to trade for Boogie, though.
See, you got me all off, David. Usually in these draft.com challenges, I take Giannis. Oh, wait, I still can, right, because this is a snake draft. Remember, draft.com is a snake draft. So I usually take Giannis first. That's like my rule. So I'm going Giannis, LeBron James. In these draft.com challenges, I can actually put this up on the screen, I think. Oh, yes.
I'm now sticking to the rules. I picked Kevin Durant. Unlike you, Doug, I like to play by the rules that were set out.
So you can see there's 5 positions. You get 2 guards, 2 forwards, and a center. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of my center position right now with my next pick and take Andre Drummond. Oh, wait, right? Yes.
Snake draft, my man. Come on, Doug. Come on, guy.
No, it's updating differently on my phone than. All right, so I'm taking Andre Drummond, projected 44.9 points tonight. So I like that. And you went Kemba Walker and Kevin Durant, so you finally played by the rules. That was very nice of you. All right, so I get another pick here. I've got 14 seconds. These things go very quick. It's cool because you get an opportunity to do a couple of drafts a day, and it doesn't take you very long. All right, I'm going to stick to the rules as well. I'm going Klay Thompson here. He doesn't, you know what's funny? Of the players, I mentioned that NBA Wowie thing that I did where I measured.
Someone's calling me right now. I'm drafting guy. I can't answer your call.
I mentioned that thing where when Steph Curry is off the floor, they're still very good. Klay Thompson, one of the players that doesn't play as well, but I'm going against the grain. I'm going against the statistics, and I'm saying Klay Thompson has a big game tonight versus probably going to be Nick Batum on him for this game. All right, final pick here for me, right? No, you've got one more. You go Kyrie Irving. You go Karl Anthony Towns.
I like how we did this only Warriors. That was fun.
Yeah, it would have been fun had you actually done what I asked.
Both those guys will be on the Warriors by the end of the
Basically.
year.
You know what?
Hopefully.
I'm going to go Jimmy Butler here for my final pick, Jimmy Buckets, because he recently told people that he's done with this defense-only Butler. He's shedding that defensive coil, and he's going
like
full
that.
offense now.
I like when guys just throw away their identity and try and do something.
Yeah,
really
I like when they're like, yeah, the team is not playing well. I've screwed this. I'm not going to be the only one playing defense.
Also,
dude, that team is so bad on D. How is Tom Thibodeau the coach?
I know what our problem is. Too much bad defense. So I'm going to stop playing any at all.
Okay, let me say this about Draft.com. Once you're done drafting, that's it. No trades, no waiver wires. Draft even takes care of last-minute injuries for you. Drafts start every couple of minutes, so you can join one right now, and the best part is that you can play for cold, hard cash. Drafts start from just $1, so there's a draft for everyone. Come and join me on Draft.com today. Download the app on your iPhone, Android, anytime. Just search Draft in your app store, and you can join a game in minutes. And use our promo code LO Hornets to get a free game. LO Hornets is the promo code when you sign up on Draft.com. That's right. You'll get a free entry into a draft on your first deposit. You have to use the promo code LO Hornets. And follow me, LOH Doug, because I'm going to have a special draft set up for listeners only. So you can play with us. Take our money. And you won't make me eat a hot chip, though.
Be careful. I guess it starts auto-drafting. I guess that's what I didn't see. It just auto-drafted for me.
You are listening to the Locked On Hornets podcast.
David,
The show's barely been on.
how are these injuries going to affect the Hornets' ability to beat the Miami Heat? I'm going to go get some more buttermilk while you talk about that.
Get more Hornets analysis on LockedOnHornets.com.
David, Jack on the chat would like to know, he says, I've been checked out of basketball for about a week now. Can you briefly summarize how the Hornets have been getting on? And Jack, I believe, is from Scotland. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, on the chat. So getting on, I think, is across the pond for how they doing. That's Southern for getting on.
Oh, I've been checked out too.
You have not.
They just got their first win, and they haven't been playing that well. Even last night, Doug, back me up if I'm wrong. Sorry, Monday night, we noticed they did get a win, but a lot of how they did that, getting to the free throw line a bunch, forcing a bunch of turnovers on the Magic, may not be the way that they will be able to win if they do that tonight. It's just going to be tough to get that many trips to the free throw line, probably on the Warriors, and they still aren't shooting that well from the three-point line.
That's a great point, David. I'm going to look up how well they do at preventing teams from getting to the free throw line. But yeah, 40-plus attempts from the free throw line in their last game against Orlando, and they've had to get transition buckets. They've had to get to the free throw line for easy points because they are shooting abysmally right now from beyond the arc. They're not shooting enough three-pointers, and when they are shooting the three-pointers, they're not going in. And it's across the board. It's not just the players that you would expect to struggle from beyond the arc. It's players like Kemba Walker and Nick Batum, who said after the game against Orlando that he's still dealing with issues from that elbow injury that he suffered in the first preseason game, and it's why he's not shooting a lot and could be why he's not shooting very accurately. He's one of I believe he's 8th in points per shot attempt on the Hornets right now, and they need him to play better. They'll need Kemba Walker to shoot a lot better from 3 tonight against the Warriors, because I've said that while they did what was necessary in terms of getting to the free throw line, in terms of turning the Orlando Magic over to get those transition points, they did what was necessary to win. But to me, that's not sustainable. You don't win games that you're not expected to win unless you're shooting well from beyond the arc, in my opinion. So I don't think Kemba Walker's not going to get away with shooting 1 of 8 from beyond the arc in this one if the Hornets have any shot at beating the Warriors.
Yeah, I did a stats deep dive last week. This would be prior to a couple of the games, but they were first in the league in getting the free throw line. They're shooting about 70%. They're not sending people to the line that much. They're first in the league in not turning over the ball, but they're like last in causing turnovers. They're kind of like a nothing team. Like they do all the things they lead in and the things they don't lead in kind of cancel each other out. And then we have 4 guys in the bottom 100 of all shooters in the league. Michael Carter-Williams is statistically the worst shooter in the league for people over a certain volume. Nick Batum, surprisingly enough, I know he's been out for a while, but he's actually in that bottom 100 too, as are our rookies, Bacon and Monk. Which, they haven't been playing a lot, but Monk, you got to think that's the one thing that he, supposedly can do right now. And I know the guy's young and I'm wearing his shirt and I'm still repping for him, but that's tough when we are a team without shooters to begin with. And the one thing he's NBA ready to do, he's actually not doing that well.
No, that's a good point, Steve. We've got another question here on from Double M15. He says, do you think Dwight Howard is going to get a lot of bench time because of matchup situations? And matchups will be very key in this one. It's going to be a tough test for Stephen Silas, who is most likely going to coach again for the ailing Steve Clifford. Did not attend practice yesterday. Stephen Silas was heading up that practice. And he played the sort of the basic rotation that you would expect the Hornets to play when they're healthy against Orlando. But in this game against Golden State, they have the ability to go very small. They can put Draymond Green at the 5. And in that case, I think you would have to play Frank Kaminsky at the 5 or Cody Zeller at the 5 to give yourself a better shot at guarding the 3-point line if they go 5 out, I would think, David.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think JaVale McGee will start for the Warriors tonight. So, I mean,
they've got either Zaza or is Zaza out as well?
Zaza, we don't know. He might be out.
Okay.
That is undetermined at this time. So I'm sure they would prefer to keep Dwight off the floor. So you may see them go small, or hey, maybe they prefer to keep him on. Who knows? And foul him a bunch. But it's going to come down to situational play. I mean, yeah, that's going to be a tough one on Stephen Silas, especially because it's just a tough matchup no matter what you do. Dwight's not going to be able to stay with the smaller guys out there. If Zaza were in there, you'd certainly like him to go down there and bang with them a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's going to be situational. I
expect the Hornets starters to play very well against the Warrior starters. Where the Hornets are going to have problems is when Kerr decides to extend Kevin Durant's minutes into the bench unit. They're going to struggle if they put their second unit out there fully. If the Hornets put out their full bench unit, that's when this game could get really out of hand if Draymond or Kevin or Clay, however they decide to stagger those minutes. Once those guys start leaking into the second unit, I mean, I think you could expect MKG to play extended minutes in this one to match up against Kevin Durant or possibly get Kemba in there for even more minutes. I mean, he's getting 34 or 35 a game, but you could expect, you gotta score against the Warriors. It's not good enough just to play your best defensive game. You've got to put scoring on the floor at all times. So this is going to be a big test for Stephen Silas because he's going to be the man in charge of rotations in the game. We'll be closely watching how he meters out the minutes for the Hornets in this one.
Another thing the Hornets are really good at is protecting the rim. They're one of the top teams at protecting the rim, 2-point field goals right in that range. Not so good on the 3-point arc area, so that doesn't bode well against.
I think the Warriors do well from 3, right?
They're pretty good now. Okay. Again, Steph is out, so that game plan goes out the window for these guys.
They're gonna have to scrap it.
They're gonna go all 2s. No, so we would be a great defensive team in 1999 during that lockout season, but it's just rough. Like, people are fine with not shooting well around the rim right now, and so that does nothing for me.
Is that misleading to you guys? I mean,
Absolutely.
Obviously it is, because even when you're watching the games, I'm watching these games and I don't see a team that is smothering guys when they drive into the lane.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of not. That is a surprising stat too, and I think it's just because nobody else cares about.
Well, they're denying a lot of rim opportunities, right? The threat of Dwight Howard is more important to the Hornets than the actual amount of blocks or amount of steals that Howard produces. It's the threat of him in the lane that keeps guys from penetrating as far. But it starts with Kemba Walker. It starts with Nick Batum. It starts with Michael Carter-Williams applying ball pressure and preventing those easy penetrations that lead to kick-out threes, which is something the Warriors are very good at. Defensively, the Warriors actually do allow teams to get to the free throw line. They're 20th in the league in that. And according to Cleaning the Glass, they rank in around the 21 to 24 area in some transition defense. And that makes sense, because the Warriors sort of like to get up and down, and so they don't mind if it's a little chaotic if they give up a few transition buckets, because they want to get, they want to force it out of the half court and into chaos, because that's when they can get their shooters open looks, quick looks that end up in buckets. But if the Hornets can create some easy points, it could make things a little better for the Charlotte Hornets offensively than if they get into a half court battle, because in the half court, the Warriors are potent because they switch. And everybody wants to talk about the Warriors' offense. Steph Curry 3 this, Klay Thompson shot that, Kevin Durant burner account. Well, I'm here to tell you that the way the Warriors lock teams down on the defensive end has been just as vital to their success, arguably more so. Synergy has them at .935 points per possession allowed, 6th in the NBA. They're 3rd in the league against pick-and-roll ball handler plays, and that's a heavy part of the Hornets' offensive attack. And why are they so good? Well, it's all about how often and how well they can switch on defense. Here's Marvin Williams at practice yesterday.
I haven't seen a team that switches more than them. I mean, they can legit do it 1 through 5. And I mean, anybody that switches onto the basketball for them, can guard the ball. I think it's definitely one of those. People talk about their offense, but I think their defense is one of their major strengths, man. They have guys that can really guard the ball. They really want to guard the ball, and at least easy baskets for them on the other end.
And that is something that's not affected by Steph Curry's absence, right? Because they're going to put Sean Livingston in there. He's a lengthy defender, a very good defender, and he will allow them to keep switching 1 through 5. They don't have to hide very many players on the defensive end. There's a lot of length, a lot of talent, and a lot of buy-in. They're just really good on-ball defenders. You have Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year, but then there's Durant, who's quick enough to stay in front of almost anyone, and he's averaging almost 2 blocks a game. That's more than Dwight Howard. So the question is, I know this is a lengthy segment, guys. I appreciate you bearing with me. Steve Bob's asleep. We'll wake him up in a minute. How do you beat the switch? That's going to be the question for the Hornets tonight. First, let's hear from Coach Silas about what makes switching tough on pick-and-roll heavy teams like the Charlotte Hornets.
It's an uncomfortable thing because as a guard coming off a pick and roll, you're expecting to have some sort of coverage, some sort of trap, some sort of drop, some sort of up to touch. And when they just switch, there's no ball movement. There's not those angles that you usually get in pick and roll. There's not the same reads that you have in pick and roll. So it's completely different. The switch makes it tough.
All right, so you heard from Steve and Silas there. Switching forces you into one-on-one basketball, and obviously if you have multiple great one-on-one players like a Houston Rocket team, then you're okay. Guys that can drive by you or shift you and get to a step back, then you're in good shape. David, would you consider the Hornets a team that has a lot of those type of players? Good one-on-one basketball players?
No.
Right, they have one, right? They have maybe one in Kemba Walker.
And Dwight, and then, no.
No, well, if Dwight's on Vucevic, yeah, that's a great one-on-one look. Also, Lamb's kind of a new addition to that one-on-one crew, right? He can create his own shot.
Yeah, I mean, they have guys that can do it in spans. I mean, Kemba's obviously the obvious answer, that's part of his game. That's part of what he utilizes to score. Lamb, you're right, is starting to figure out other ways to score. He's getting into the lane, hitting some of those mid-range shots, that weird shot that he kind of like pulls up right in the paint, maybe gets blocked, is looking for a foul. But I mean, Batum does it every once in a while. He's going to the fadeaway a little bit more, but no, it's not a team, especially on that second unit, that can create a lot of offense on their own. And that's something that I like too, because when you look you mentioned the Warriors second unit, Doug, when they bring in guys like a Jordan Bell or Iggy, or I think Livingston will be back for this game after he had a little run in with the ref. So, it's just going to come down to, can those guys basically explode? Is Frank getting hot from three? I would give Malik Monk a little look in this game, just because they've got to match the 3-point shot from somewhere. I
don't think that's a hot take at all. I think you could very well see Stephen Silas opting to go more offense than defense in this one, because it seems counterintuitive because of how well offensively the Warriors play. But you have to put up a lot of points and hope. Yeah, the key to the game is hope. You got to hope that Kevin Durant is off. You got to hope that Draymond Green doesn't get hot from three.
Yeah, you hope they're disinterested. Like you mentioned, the 2 20-point comebacks they've had. You hope they're a little disinterested, a little tired. Maybe they can do what the Hornets have been doing in some of these games, which is letting the home crowd stay in it, letting the home team kind of keep within reaching distance. And then you give it to Kemba down the stretch and see what he can do.
Can I give you one more key to the game, I think?
Please.
You have to look, when you play the Warriors, for the tiny advantages that you can expose from them. So one advantage that they're going to have is obviously not having to deal with Steph Curry's offense and what he creates on and off the ball. So that's one advantage. And they can put Kemba Walker in a lot of situations where, yes, he's going to be one-on-one maybe with a JaVale McGee or a Zaza Pachulia. Attack that early before they get those guys out of the game. And they will be going up against Sean Livingston, who, despite being a great pick-and-roll ball handler defender, is not so great, if you look at the numbers, at dealing with handoff plays. He's not so great at dealing with isolation either. So maybe attack that late in the game. So these little advantages, you have to just hit those hard and hope, again, go back to hope, that some of these shooters for the Warriors just don't get taken. Because look, this game is in the beginning of December for the Warriors, right? They're on a 4-game winning streak. They're going to be fine. They're 19-6. They've got a little cushion now. They're not like the Cavaliers who still have to grind because they got off to a bad start. They're without Steph Curry. Maybe there's a little bit of a letdown. I'm trying to give hope on this, and the Hornets play well on national TV. They have, at least in recent memory.
That's a good point. And I think you got to hope that maybe the nightlife of downtown Charlotte really messed with their heads last night. Maybe they just stayed out a little too late and got crazy. Stayed out till like 11:30 or 12 or something.
Those kooks.
One thing on the center position I should mention, though, we got a question on Dwight Howard and his play early on. I mentioned JaVale McGee. JaVale plays about 7 minutes a game. So even though he starts not playing a lot of minutes, they like to go with that small lineup. So, I don't know what we'll see from
his per 7-minute stats, though, are off the charts. He's got a per 7 of it's crazy. I want to see, going back to your Monk thing, I want to see Monk in there because why not? There's no such thing as defense against these guys. And he has one of his better shots, I think, is that little leaning floater he does, that little 15-footer. He can knock that down. So you just give him some run. I mean, Silas, this is a tough assignment for a fill-in job. So I would just run out whoever he wants, really. You can't criticize the guy. What are you going to do? You and I can
get him some shots.
Especially on that second unit, right? Like, are you going to, put Trevion Graham out there or Bacon?
We know what 40 minutes of MCW looks like now. Like, okay, cool. It looks like Sean Livingston without Sean Livingston's jumper. It's just a tall guy who's holding the ball sometimes. I'd like to see.
Gave them a big play against Orlando, though. You have to give him that. Got the steal and the assist.
He does a lot of things you can't quantify. Like, for real, he does. I like him out there, and then it's just every team's like, sure, shoot it 13 times. That's great.
Please.
Okay, so maybe some more Monk. Maybe a little less Bacon.
Maybe a little divine intervention.
Maybe more Lamb. I think you got to get Lamb in more than he's been in the past, and hope that he's locked in defensively and paying attention, because again, they're going to need as much offense, but maybe see some more Frank as well. I will say this about Lamb and Frank. I forgot to say this on the previous show. They've been getting more consistent off the bench.
Lamb's been great all year. I think Frank's been the one that's really
and I think
we keyed in on him before the season as the guy. We said Lamb and Frank. Lamb's been really good, and Frank has been the one that if he had been as consistent as Lamb so far, the Hornets would be in a little bit better of a position.
I think that's a great point. And if you look at the last 3 or 4 games, he's been putting up double-digit offensive numbers, has been efficient from the field. So they're going to need that to continue, and hope that Frank Kaminsky has locked in and is ready to go for the rest of this.
I got a Pocky hot prediction for you tonight. If we win this game, Frank's gonna have over 30. That's my meaningless hot prediction.
I like it. You know what's frustrating? You know what's frustrating about this team, guys? They're what are they? 1-8 on the road right now.
1-10.
1-10, even better.
That's not that good. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Split that, right? I mean, you split that, or at worst, just add a few more wins on the road there, and they're sitting right at 500. I mean, that's where it's been killing them. They just can't. Now that doesn't really matter for tonight. They're playing at home, but just something I thought of.
So if you take away some of those road losses and replace them with road wins,
that's what I'm saying.
We're actually not that bad of a team.
That's correct.
Put us at the top of the standings.
I checked your work
instead of the bottom, and lo and behold, pretty good.
If you guys had to pick one guy to deploy to get Kevin Durant really agitated, potentially mad enough to just yap at somebody and get kicked out, who would it be?
It's bad Frank Kaminsky, like when he's playing really bad, because he's going to be like, Durant loves the game so much. He's so good at it. He's going to be like, what is this? I hate this. I'm out.
I like that. But I think it's all going to be on MKG. I mean, he's just got to try to take away whatever Kevin Durant is going to give him.
It's impossible. He shoots it. I mean, when he rises up, you can't block it. He's a 7-footer who's getting out there shooting that jumper. No one can block that.
And the problem is, if you go Marvin on Kevin Durant, and Marvin's averaging like 23, 24 minutes per game, and then you put MKG on Draymond, and it doesn't, Draymond can back guys down and can easily, I think, back MKG down and get some easy looks that way. So, yeah, look, this is tough. That's the thing. But they've lost 6 games. I mean, we're not talking about the Warriors a few years ago who
Durant's
every
also
game
gotten himself
they're not going to play. They're
thrown out of 3 games, like on purpose. On purpose. Like these guys just don't care. Durant got thrown out of 3 games. There's no way he's just like that mad. They're just messing around. Steve Kerr hasn't given a serious press conference all year long. I mean, I know we got to prepare for this game, but there's just no. You're right. You're right. You're exactly right. You could put all of those guys on Durant. Put all of those guys on Durant. That no one's tried that yet.
Yeah, Danny here on the chat saying Cody Zeller tends to agitate guys. I think Cody should be our sacrificial lamb to just try to get on one of those KD drives, just come over the top and get them to, bait him into kind of that Mo Spates situation that we saw against Orlando.
Take one for the team. Choice. The only thing about that is I can't believe we're talking about who's going to get someone kicked out.
Yes.
Listen, desperate times.
Feed into it.
For desperate measures.
But you also need Cody to bang in there with whomever's in there on that second unit. I mean, that's going to be one way that they try and claw and keep close, is just to throw some of those bodies around. And Cody's definitely.
Our boys got to go Cobra Kai. We got to go 80s villain defense and just give
grow a goatee.
Grow a goatee. Do the gladiator stab him real quick in the ribs before
have an
the
Eastern
game.
European accent.
Yeah, black magic could be a good thing to look into for tonight.
Witchcraft.
Have you guys noticed Frank sometimes gels his hair and then sometimes doesn't?
Evil Frank.
Whoa. Do we need to get on-off statistics? Do we need to get gel?
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Go back to the Jeremy Lin days of tracking hairstyles? We can do this.
I'm just saying, I've noticed, like the other night, no gel at home. On the road. On the road, gel. And Dell will sometimes mention that on the broadcast. If you guys keep watch, maybe we can put some stats and maybe a chart or two together.
Well, if we keep losing games, we might have to do something like that to entertain ourselves.
All right, Hornets, Warriors, 8 o'clock tonight on ESPN. Make sure to check it out. Get into Spectrum Center. Make sure you got your seats. I don't know. Look, Steph Curry being out has nothing to do, I think, with the entertainment value of this game. I think it's going to be I think that, listen, the Hornets, if you just take how well they played defensively in that Orlando game, if they can keep that intensity up, then I think they'll give themselves at least a shot to be competitive. And I think that's got to be the expectation for this game. Not necessarily a win, but you've got to come out of this game not psychologically broken, because Friday and Saturday, you've got a home back-to-back against Chicago and Los Angeles that's going to be vitally important. 2 very winnable games to go in to the rest of this December schedule. They've got another game with Golden State. They've got another game with San Antonio coming up, and Houston coming up that are going to be very difficult as well. So just be competitive in this one and then look forward to Friday and Saturday. I think that has to be the expectation. Also, we've got some giveaways coming up, so you want to make sure you're signed up, patreon.com/LOH to get your double entries. And also, we've got the draft.com challenge. They are the sponsor for this episode. Sign up on draft.com, put in our promo code LOHornets, follow me, LOH Doug, and then get in our draft challenge that I'm going to set up right after the show. We'll draft at about 4 o'clock, I think, is going to be the draft time for that. So check that out on draft.com. That's going to do it for us here. Big show, fun show, a lot of stats, a lot of numbers. Hope you learned something. We're excited for this game tonight. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Hornets here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks to my panel, David and Steve. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Hornets. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, wherever you get your podcast. Just search Locked On Hornets, and you can visit our new website as well, LockedOnHornets.com, to check out Nick Denning's daily news updates on LockedOnHornets.com called Buzzworthy. That's a nice tee. You can get a similar one.
We have a tee like that.
We have a tee like this.
Yes.
tpublic.com, search Locked On Hornets. You can check that out as well. We're back again tomorrow with a recap of tonight's game against the Golden State Warriors. For David and Steve, I'm Doug. Go Hornets. Go America. Let's swarm Charlotte.